back. I'm Tedward. Welcome to Bond Group here in Waltham, Massachusetts, and welcome to this very special kind of hot rod 911. This started its life as a 78 SC or Super Carrera. 78 was the first year of the SC where they put in a 3-liter with a 915 transmission. It replaced the 911S. And it's not exactly the most beloved car, so it's not sacrilegious for this to have been, let's say, redone. It's resto mod style, has kind of an RSR appearance. We've got this gorgeous ducktail, a backdated retro front end, and check out the hips on this car with this gorgeous dual exhaust coming out the back. Super wide rubber. They look actually wider than they are. It's only a 255 tire, but when you look at this from back here, you'd swear it was a 305. Let's take a peek and see what's up front. These are replica Fuchs wheels, or Fuchs, however you'd like me to describe them. That's a 215 section up here, and clever brake upgrade as well. So this one was body modified in Canada. That's where it gets these wide fenders, and it also has, like I said, the backdated long nose hood. Now, sometimes these don't line up super perfectly. If you're gonna be persnickety, well, they make cars for persnickety people. They just cost 7 figures. So if you want your very, very, very perfect retro 911, you're more than welcome to go put in an order with Singer. But for relatively low money in this Porsche world, you can have something like this that hits the mark aesthetically, but maybe isn't exactly the 7-figure car that you dream of. But who among us can really afford this stuff? So let me show you what's going on in here and in the back, because normally in an SC, we'll pull this out, normally in an SC, you'd be looking at a 3-liter. This one is kind of special. It was, I believe, a 2.7 liter that was punched up to a 2.9 liter, so this should be kind of a fun and at least sonorous hot rod for us to play with today. We're warming up all this oil right now. Let me also show you in the frunk. See, you gotta reach way far in because they've got this big long hood, but it was never designed for this hood. There it is. So that latch is a lot further in than I'm used to on a car like this. And there you go, very clean under here actually, and that's where your space saver spare would go. There's your fuel tank, brake fluid reservoir and booster, all the goods. But yeah, let's take it out for a little drive and exercise it and enjoy. This one also has the, I guess, upgraded. Some people like them, some people don't, but those are not original headlights, but I'm sure they're a heck of a lot brighter than what would have been on the car. Now, despite all of its racy looking thing, it actually has the comfy seats, which I kind of appreciate, and they are still power, which is also nice. Good, good. We're starting to get some temperature in this oil while we idle. Always nice to have a warm, air-cooled 911. In here, lots of Renline bits. They're a company out of Vermont that makes like these floor plates down here, a lot of interior pieces, door handles, door cards, cool stuff. And then I don't know who makes this shifter. Maybe you recognize that, but it's a 915 gearbox, so reverse is over and back. In the first, very short shifter, not my favorite, but we will make do. Sounds really good. And B-roll shots are done. And let me close this door just because blocking those hips is sacrilegious. What I like about these Porsches too is I mean this in the best possible way, they're like Hondas, they're Legos. You can take all kinds of different Porsche era pieces and put them on the cars because the shape is always the same, but what's great about G models is that G model body shape essentially is the same shape from the old days all the way up through 993. So you can kind of pick and choose your adventure. Now, you've got to be somewhat discerning about what you put on the car and how you do it, because you can go too far. And this one, I think, really rides right up to the edge, and it still looks fantastic. Like, it's just such a fun build. And I've already had a couple people who are at this conference at this office park come over and say hi, and they're like, what is this? And it's weird because on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, isn't this car cool? And then they're like, well, what is it? And then I kind of have to explain it, which, you know, it'd be really fun if I was like, oh, this is a 911R or something, but it's not. But that's just what you're up against in this game of building. But it also, you know, what's important to you or the market or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as what's important to everybody else. I mean, people who like cars are fans of good shapes and good sizes and like race car-y things. You know, most people would get into this and just be completely blown away. And I might be one of those people. I also really love that you've got the Porsche crest in here. You know, as much as this has become some sort of race car looking thing, it still does have all the reasonable amenities, although I don't see any radio in here. So it's got speakers, but it's just occurring to me that it's only HVAC controls. Anyway, let's get it started up. This is the craziest fuel pump sound. Floor-mounted pedals, of course, and manual steering, all part of the charm. Sacrifice you make for the style points and having this thing hella flush and like really well stanced out is that it is not ideal over the bumps, but it'll do it. I'm impressed that there's no rattles in this car. I mean, not like big ones at least. Doesn't have the torque and power of, say, a 3.2 Carrera engine, but it feels like it wants to rev and rev and rev. And there's actually, I would like to know more about this engine. I don't know enough about this engine, but you know, this TAC has the standard, you know, 6,200 RPM redline. Something tells me this might rev a lot higher, and maybe it's built to rev a lot higher. But I don't know, and I'm not going to test that. I think we're going to be very kind to it today. But these engines, especially the smaller ones, they don't like to be lugged. You want to keep them somewhere around 3,000 RPM, and even if you're down there, you don't necessarily want to add a whole bunch of manifold pressure. You want to be gentle with your throttle application at low revs with these. fun car. The steering feels fantastic. I mean, I always like these, but sometimes, like my car, I've gone a little too crazy with my alignment, so sometimes it can be a cumbersome steering rack at lower speeds. This one actually, everything feels like it's kind of set up nicely. It's easy to move around. It still has the junky feeling Porsche stocks. There's no way around that. Every time you engage the blinker, you're like, man, I guess that's where they cut some costs. This shifter, I'm getting used to it, knock on wood or whatever, but a little too short for my taste. And this 915 gearbox feels super good, super fresh, like no synchro issues like sometimes you feel on high mileage examples of these cars. Track's nice and straight, very little tram lining, which is surprising for a car with this setup. Very impressive. Sound on the overrun. I gotta say, I had no idea what to expect with this car. Whenever you're seeing some project 911, it's always a crapshoot of like, what is this thing going to be like? It could be one of the best examples you've ever driven. It could be a total train wreck that has not been dialed in. And this one is honestly more dialed than I thought. Is very revvy. I love the sound of this thing off throttle, actually. I mean, it sounds good on throttle too, but I think the only thing I'm wanting for is a little more juice. I just want some more power and torque. But you can drive around that. And then, you know, I could just be driving this incorrectly. It may just require like a psychotic amount of revs that I'm just not really willing to do without speaking to somebody about this engine. So I'm in the business of driving, not destroying. But man, is this thing a looker. Everybody takes a peek because this thing does look fantastic. And in the interior, you know, it feels complete. Like the car doesn't feel like it was just, okay, let's do the body work and get that all done. It inside, you know, there's not like drooping wires everywhere. I can't tell you how many builds I've been in that the exterior looks fantastic and really cool, and then you get inside the car and you're like, okay, have you ever driven it? Or do you even care? So the fact that we've got functional gauges, we've got everything going on here for us is really wonderful. You know, I'm driving it the way I would drive like an Aventador. Like, you keep the revs up a little bit, so then you hear the sounds. You're not like redlining it, but that mid-range is just so juicy and fun to show off. Anyway, I'm gonna go bring this thing back to Bond Group. Thank you so much for coming out for a short drive in a special build that, like, you know, it's fun to see what other people's projects become. And this one, when it rolled in, I was like, I couldn't wait to drive it. And I think whoever ends up with this car is gonna really enjoy driving this around, because it is fun to drive. I just gotta brake harder, and then we can eliminate some of that yucky squeaks. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. This is one of those cars where the purists might be whining about its lack of purity or heritage or whatever, but it might get you in with a different subset of Porsche enthusiasts that are more fun. The fun Porsche enthusiasts, in my opinion, are like the Volkswagen and BMW guys that graduated into Porsches, who were building cars when they had like no money, and then they end up in these cars. And I think they're a good time. Don't worry about the revs, we're barely applying throttle, we're going downhill. And that actually might be a better group of friends to have if this is your thing. So don't worry about anybody saying like, oh, that's not an original body, or oh, that's not an original engine, or oh, redline bits, that's, you know, I go to swap meets and find original 1965 stuff to put in my car. Like, that's great, that's good for you, but not all of us have the dough. So this is not the greatest Porsche in the world, but this is just a tribute.